Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hi. So welcome, everyone, to my talk, Making Sense of Unstructured Data with AI. So my name is Henk Boelman, and I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. I'm also the co-host of a show that is called the A Bit of AI Show, where we talk with people who work in AI to actually find out what they're actually doing while they're working in AI, because there are so many people working and doing things in AI that we thought it might be good to see what people have learned, how they got to these points in their career, and kind of what they're doing, because there's so many different jobs and roles in AI. So we have that show, and if you want to see this show, it is going to be recorded live at the Microsoft Reactor on Thursday evening. And it is, of course, free of charge. And we will have Richard Campbell as a guest, because he knows everything about AI. So I have Twitter. You can always follow me. I can always use a few more followers. I have a GitHub. I think that's the most important thing of all, because there are going to be all the demos and all the code I've shown you today. And if you want to read more about what I'm talking today, you can always go to my blog. So today, we are going to talk about how we can make sense of a lot of unstructured mess and get that into a searchable website, like Google-like search website. But then I designed it, so it still looks a bit awkward. But we're going to talk about how to get from that unstructured set of data to all the way to a searchable interface. And we are going to mainly look at like handwritten text and videos. So a little bit more in detail. So today is going to be a live demo. So it is either going to epically fail and you will all leave me a red card, or you're going to leave me a green card when we finally succeed at the end of the hour and have our search engine built. So this is what we're going to build. We're going to start off with some data on a storage. Going to be videos of the A Bit of AI show, because I own the copyright for that. It was hard to find non-copyright material, and my notes in handwriting. We're going to use Azure Video Indexer to make sense of videos. We're going to create some indexers in Azure Cognitive Search. We're going to build skill sets that will understand like the video output and the text. We're going to push that all in a big search index. And then finally, we'll have my interface that you can use to search your data. So with first things first, let's have a look which tools we're going to use from the Microsoft Toolbox. So if we look at the whole portfolio of Microsoft AI, this is what you get. So they divided it in kind of two things. We have some tools for developers and data scientists, and we have tools for business users and citizen developers. So basically no code and like a little bit and like a lot of code. So let's zoom in. The building block and the foundation of all is our Azure Machine Learning Service. With that service, you can build basically any model you want, and it supports the whole MLOps kind of life cycle. So you can work together on team to actually build your models. On top of that, there are the Azure Cognitive Services. These are models being trained by Microsoft, deployed for you nicely in an API. So the only thing you as a developer has to do is send data to an endpoint and get your response back. So you don't need to know how to train your models. And then the third layer we have is our Azure Applied AI services, like Azure Cognitive Search, Form Recognizer, Video Indexer, and Azure Immersive Readers. These are services that are built on top of our cognitive services, which of course are being built using Azure Machine Learning. So Azure Cognitive Services, they're divided in 4 regions. So there is language, vision, speech, and decision. So there is vision, to make your application see. There is speech, to make your application talk and listen to you. There is language, to understand what is being spoken, and there is decisions, services that help you make like kind of intelligent decisions based on data you give the service. So it's time for the first demo. And in this demo, I'm going to show you how you can go from a piece of paper with handwriting up to a WAV file, which is converted to text, to speech. So for that, we're going to use Visual Studio Code. We'll zoom in a little bit. Can you see it in the back? Need a little bit better? It's okay? Perfect. Okay, so here I have Visual Studio Code running a notebook with Python code in it. You don't have to use Azure Cognitive Services. You have the choice between a lot of SDKs for most common languages like .NET, Python, Java, JavaScript, or you can just do the raw API calls. So basically everyone can use them. But I chose a notebook because I kind of like notebooks. You just put in a bit of code in a cell, you hit a play button and it executes your code. You don't have to compile and run all the things, so it is really good for demoing things. So we start with importing all our dependencies. Then next, I have to create my services in Azure. So you can run Azure CLI comments from a notebook cell. So I'm going to create an Azure resource group. So then next, now I have my resource group, I have to create the resources in it. So the first thing I'm going to create is a computer vision endpoint. The computer vision endpoint is a cognitive service where you can send images to. It can detect what is on the image, it can describe your image, and it can read handwriting and of course also normal typed text. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a resource. And next, I'm going to ask, hey, give me the key and give me the endpoint, please. And these two things I can use later on in my code. So I'm copying the subscription key, pasting that in my code, and I'm going to create a computer vision client endpoint. Next, we need to have an image that we're going to send to it. So this is the image. This is the Microsoft mission statement, which I wrote down on a paper in my handwriting. So we're going to send it to the endpoint. And then we're going to visualize the result. So we get back all the coordinates for all the sentences, where they are in the document. We get back, actually we get it back for every word. And the latest update, as all you can see, doesn't recognize my E anymore. Like 2 weeks ago it worked, but then someone decided to make it better and then it didn't work anymore. It extracts the text, and here you can kind of see what it has detected. So now I have this string here. So what I can do now is I can actually create a translation resource. So we're here all in the UK, and you all have English, and most of it is in English, but I'm from the Netherlands, and sometimes we just want to read it in our own language. So we have a translation service that you send a piece of text or a full document, and it returns to you the translated text. So we are going to do that, so you can make your content accessible for everyone. So we're creating the resource, we're copying the key again, and we're going to send that string to the translate endpoint. And this API is so basic that there is not even an SDK. It's just a raw REST call. We're going to send it. We're going to send the body. Here we go. We're going to send the text. And then we look at the result. So, of course, it didn't translate the word empower, but the rest of the sentence is correct. And if you want to have it translated in Arabic, that's possible. And I heard when I was giving this presentation or this demo in Dubai that it was actually correct. So now we have the text translated. So now we can actually give it to the speech SDK to create a WAV file for us, which can speak the text out. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to create a resource, ask for the resource for the subscription key, copy it, paste it, run it, and create a speech configuration. Here you can specify your language and the voice. There are about 100 voices, so every language mostly have 3 or 4 voices, mostly male or female. So now we're going to create it. We pick up the translated text. That should be Dutch. That is not the Dutch one, so it will sound really horrible. You have to pick up the translated text. Yeah, no, it should be. Did I copy the wrong key? Yep, I absolutely did. Well spotted. No, we don't want to take a survey. So here we have the Dutch sentence.
Bouw er elke persoon en organisatie op de planeet om meer te bereiken.
So this is not how we talk in Dutch, but it looks kind of close. So cool. So in 5 minutes, or maybe 3, I went with 3 API calls from a piece of text with handwriting on to a WAV file of someone that was speaking Dutch. So that is how powerful these cognitive services are. And you understand this is not production code and so on, but it is just to illustrate what is possible. And there are like 42 of these APIs to do that. So next up are the Azure Applied Services. So we have Cognitive Search, Form Recognizer, Bot Services, and these are kind of solutions we built as Microsoft on top of our cognitive services. So what you see also in the demo, a combined 3, that is kind of what these services do with a nice interface around it. So we have Cognitive Search, formerly known as Azure Search, then known as Cognitive Search, and now known as Azure Cognitive Search, to make things easy. We have Form Recognizer. That is a service that can understand forms. So you can give it a bunch of invoices, you can give it a bunch of your specific company forms, you train it on your forms by giving it a few examples, and it will extract all the data for you and put it in a nice JSON format which you can process later on. Bot service, to help you create bots. That's built on our Lewis and our speech as text and speech SDKs. Video indexer, which is now renamed to Azure Video Indexer. We're going to look at that a little bit more in the demo, but that service is really cool. You give the video and it extracts all kind of insights using basically all the cognitive services underwater. So let's dive into cognitive search. So cognitive search is also known as knowledge mining. It is a service that kind of enriches your data, builds a search index for you, so you can build like kind of Bing-like search engines. So what does it do? It can extract text automatically for you. You don't have to write a single line of code. It can detect objects in your images. I have to say that are known objects in your images. So you use the standard computer vision API that can detect like general objects. You can kind of customize it later on, but then you have to start programming. But out of the box, it can detect like these basic objects and generate descriptions for your images. So if you maybe have used PowerPoint or Outlook, it can automatically generate like descriptions on alt text for your images. That is basically the same service underwater, the computer vision API. Can do forms, and one thing it can do kind of on all the documents is extract entities. It doesn't necessarily have to be a form, it can be a big piece of text or a PDF file, so it can extract entities. With entities I mean it can extract persons' names, companies, locations, and all that type of information. And also P2 information, like bank accounts, phone numbers, and so on. So you can actually stripe that and remove that from sensitive documents. So Azure Cognitive Search is a search as a service. And this is the only marketing slide I have in it with all the buzzwords on it. But it is management free. Of course, it scales in Azure by just putting a lot of sliders. The further you go to the right, the better it is for us. The further you go to the left, the better it is for you. It has an automatically keyword search in it. So you type it, and it will match and have some autocorrect on it. It supports the facets, like you see on most websites on the left. Like you can filter on your country or persons or entities. It has language analyzers. So for your fields, you can specify that this field is in the English language, or this is in Dutch, or basically all the languages we support. It has geospatial support, so you can put a coordinate in, set a radius, and it can search within that circle around it. There's autocomplete for you, auto-suggesters, and a lot of other cool things to make it like a really nice search experience on your own private data. So how does it work on a very, very high level? You have data, basically in any format. Then it will go to like an analyzer, and it will enrich your data using cognitive services called skills, cognitive skills. So you can build your own skills, or you can use the ones out of the box. It extracts those insights and then puts that all in an index, so makes basically a very big JSON document for you. And then you can explore the data by running search queries on it. So there are built-in cognitive skills, and there are third-party enrichers, basically the thing you make yourself. So a sample skill set, how does it look? So a skill set is a combination of multiple little skills. So you have an OCR skill, you have an entity recognition skill, and you combine them, and together those skills are going to be a skill set. So let's say we have a PDF file that consists of text and images. So the images, we run an extra OCR, text recognition on top of it. The normal text we put already directly in the merge text field. Then we add the image OCR in it. And on that field, we extract our entities like organizations names or locations. And then we can later on search on it. So these are the cognitive skills that are implemented at the moment. So there's key phrase extraction, sentiment analysis you can do out of the box. Very handy thing is if you have like a bunch of PDF files, it can also automatically detect the language of those PDF files and translate them for you directly to the language you want. If you're famous enough, celebrity recognition is there, so it will recognize you. Image text, no idea what text utilities are, but should be interesting. And landmark detection. So if it finds like the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower, it will extract it out and will add like a link to Wikipedia for you. And then you can create custom skills. And custom skills are nothing more than an API. We will dive in the format how it later, but you can hook up your own SDK of own API and send data to it, and you enrich it and you send it back. That's it, that's a custom skill. And out of the box, it supports Azure Databricks, Azure Machine Learning skills. I don't know why it would support machine learning virtual machines, but it supports Azure Functions, which I think is the best functionality. So let's build our first part of our search engine and see how we can automate the process of looking at our handwritten JPEGs and get it to our front end so we can make those two images searchable. So we will start with putting it on a blob storage. Then we will create an indexer, which will use a skill set, the OCR skill. And when it is written, we will do some entity recognition on it. We push that in an index, and then my front end, we will update the key, and it will connect to our index. So for this, I will use a GitHub code space. Why would I use a GitHub code space? Because all your code is nicely there and my demo will work. Hopefully, again, because the environment always stays the same. And they shut down after 15 minutes automatically for you. It's to save you money, but sometimes it's not the best timing. And all my code is in there, so you will have to wait until it is getting back up. You know, as a GitHub code spaces are really nice. I make a lot of demos, and I use a lot of Python and a lot of machine learning frameworks. And always when you do that on your local machine, you will mess up at least one of the frameworks so that your demo the next day doesn't work. And that is why GitHub Codespaces is so cool. They just shut down, and if you activate them, I think within 4 weeks, everything will be the same. Otherwise, they start throwing them away. But you can also make a dev container configuration for everyone, for every developer. So if anyone clones or forks your GitHub repository, or starts working in it, it can work in kind of the same development experience with the same packages. So here we are, my code space is started. So now we can start with the demo. So let's start with creating a resource group. Perfect, I'm still logged in, so that saves. The next thing we're going to do is to create an Azure Cert. So I like to use the Azure CLI to do things because I'm like too lazy to click every time in the portal. But of course, everything I'm doing here, you can also do in the portal. So what I say here is Azure CLI from the search part, from the search service, create one with the name NDC Search in the resource group, and they say NDC London resource group, with a standard SKU, so it is not too expensive, like 40, 50 bucks a month, with one partition and one replica. If you want to use this in production, they advise you to use a little bit more replicas, but for the demo, one is like really more than enough. So the next thing we need is a blob storage where we are going to store our data. So this will create a blob storage, and then we will create a container where we're going to put our images in. And let's see if the blob will create a little bit fast today. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. It remains Azure. Here we are, the blob is created. So now I'm creating a publicly available container. So later on, we don't have to use all kind of horrible tokens to actually show the image. And then I will upload all the data I have here in my GitHub action to the blob storage. Now basically what we're going to do is upload these two images. Here, this image and this image. And these are the two images we're going to use in our search index. So one other thing we need is, I said Azure Search uses cognitive services. So we need an account so that Azure Search can use cognitive services. You saw me in the first demo creating 3 separate endpoints. There is also a better way. You can create one service to rule them all. So you get like, you create an Azure Cognitive Services endpoint, you get a key, and you can use basically, with that key, you can basically use all the cognitive services. And this is the list of currently supported cognitive services. And if you create a cognitive services kind, then that is the general one that you can be using. You need to create this, this cognitive service endpoint in the same region and the same resource group as your Azure Search instance. Yes, we're not going to do anything weird. Okay, so now the endpoint. Now we have created all the resources in Azure, and we should see them back here under resource groups. Here is our NDC London resource group. We see the search and we see the NDC London data, and the other one will appear hopefully pretty soon. Okay, so this is the interface. This is how it looks if you go to the search service. So you can start creating these indexers and data sources all by hand, but there is also a nice wizard you can go to. So that is what we are going to do now. So we're going to first specify a data source. Where is the data located? We select Azure Blob Storage, but as you can see, there are a lot of different options where you can pull your data from. We will call it handwriting data. Handwriting data. We will say extract the content and the metadata. Metadata is like the file name, where it is located, which type of file it is, and the content is the actual content of the image. We leave it the parsing mode to default. If it is JSON, we can already specify it, but default always works. And then we make the connection to the actual blob storage, where we're going to find our data. Select it. And we can leave everything else like it is. It's not in a subfolder. So now next, we can add our skill set. And hopefully our cognitive service endpoint is created. We'll see it here. So the first thing you have to do is select that cognitive endpoint. You can create also one from here through the interface, but we already have it, and it is located in West Europe. And then we can choose which type of enrichments we want. We will call this our handwriting skill set. And we will check the box, enable OCR, and then merge all the text into the field merged content. We'll leave this to default, and then we select what we want. So it's automatically already doing the OCR and putting it in the merged content field. And then we can say extract people names from it, organizations, and locations, please. It can also do the text language, translate the language automatically, and extract P2 information, but we're not going to do that now. So next, we have to specify the index. Where is the indexer going to put all the information from the skill set in? And we will call it, for now, Azure Blob Index. And we will make everything kind of retrievable. We will make our entities like people, organization, and location filterable, and that it can be visitable. We can have some nice filters on our website, and we only make that it can search in the merged content field and specify that that is going to be in the English language. Next, we create the indexer. The indexer doesn't do that much here. We can just specify that it is, we'll call it a handwriting indexer. The only thing we're doing here is that we're saying we're going to run it once. So these indexers can kind of run every hour, every day, every 5 minutes, basically what you want. But if you run it, say run once, then it runs once, and then you have a play button so you can run it again when you want it. Click submit. And now it should start indexing. Hopefully. It's too early to leave feedback. So we should see that our index is here, that our indexer is in progress. It doesn't have that much to it, as the index only 2 documents. And that is done. So now we can go quickly to our Azure Blob index and do a query. So we will see what is all in the index, the 2 search results. So we can click search, and you get a bunch of not very nicely formatted JSON. But what we can see here is that it extracted all the text from the image in the merge content field. Here's the text, and here it is detected language and all other bounding boxes. And we should be able to see that it extracted some persons somewhere. Persons, person filter, of course. Okay, we will see that nicely in the interface. I promise you that it is done, that it has filtered out my name very wrongly. So now we want to have it working in my search index. So what we're going to do is we're going to shape the index a little bit and connect our front end to it. So we're going to update the indexer in the index. Little custom skill. Here, the handwriting configuration, our index. We're going to back to index. So there is not like a really nice way to empty your index and add things and change things. So sometimes you just have to throw it away and kind of recreate it. There is a possibility to do all REST calls, but showing you Postman and starting to do REST calls, it's like kind of a bit boring. So let's create a new index. We have to call it Azure Blob Index. Our primary key will be ID, and I click create. So all the things you see here are backed with JSON configuration. So now we have a new empty index. I can go to the index definition and adjust the index here. And I see I made a typo, so we'll have to do it again. Azure Blob Index, that is not correct. We'll create a new index. Azure Blob Index, create it again, edit it, and now I can update my JSON here. The nice thing is, if you update your JSON, your configuration file, it is automatically visible here. So we see my primary key is ID. I have here another field, which we're going to use later for the video indexer. I've combined phrases, but here you see I have my people, organization, locations, merged content, and a summary field. So I've added a bunch of more fields, and we're going to make the name of the document also searchable. And we're going to say that is, this is horrible scrolling with a touchpad. We're going to say that. So now we're going to save the index. So now we have like a different index. We need to update the indexer a little bit because it needs to put the information it got from the cognitive skill in like kind of different fields in the index. So we're going to do that. Under indexers, we're going to update the handwriting indexer. And you see it is also backed by JSON configuration. So what we need to change is, luckily here, is basically the output field mapping. Copy and paste this in here. The output field mapping Hope. Yeah, all the commas are good. So what I'm doing, for instance, here is because I want to have like this really nice summary field of the document, like in the real Bing and real Google. I'm putting all the merged content now in that field. I also put all the merged content in the combined recognized phrases because that is where my search engine is going to search on. And later on, we will put all the information we extract using Video Indexer also in that part. Here we have organizations and our people. So it already ran. So it thinks it already indexed my documents. So first I have to reset my indexer, and then I can run it again. So it's resetting, and now it is indexing again. And we should be able to see it indexing now. This indexed the 2 documents successfully. We can go back now to the index, and we will see that that makes a lot more sense. It has removed all the coordinates and all those things, and now we should be able to see in here in people, organizations here, it found the organization Microsoft, so that is pretty cool. So now let's connect it to my Azure website. And the only thing I need to do for that is to update my search key or my, yeah. So I will copy my new API key and I will update my app settings from my Azure Web App to the correct key. So it will be querying our database. So we all know that we're not querying a fake database that I've set up in the background. It is our database. Hope the .NET Core will restart soon. Should be restarting, otherwise this will be a horrible demo. Cool. So .NET Core worked in my favor, and the app settings are applied. So here we have my fantastic search index that can actually search now these 2 documents. So this .NET Core app connects to my search index and runs the queries against that index. It is just a .NET SDK that you give a keyword and it returns the results. And because I checked like these are facets, it can now do facets. So basically we only have organization here. It thinks my name is not Henk, but Hark, and it is an organization. So these are like the untrained skills. You can kind of manipulate the data, of course, later. But here we have it. So we should be able to say, if we say empower, power, it should return this document. So now we have made this document searchable. So that is pretty cool, I think. Yep. So let's move on quickly to Azure Video Indexer. So kind of recap what we did, because it were a lot of JSONs, copy and paste. But what we did is we put our stuff on a blob storage. We created a data source. We created a skill set using an OCR, with an OCR skill and an entity recognition skill. We created an indexer that pushed all that information to the index, and then we saw my front-end web app connecting to that index, and our data was able to be searched. So now what about videos? We could just upload a video to a blob storage and then maybe have a cognitive skill doing that. But looking at video takes at least it takes at least, I thought it was the fire alarm again. But a cognitive skill can only take like so long. So if you upload like a 3 or 4 hour video, you don't want your indexer to be waiting for 4 hours and your Azure function let it not wait for 4 hours to get the information back. So that is why we can use Azure Video Indexer in between. So video indexer makes sense of your video. Basically, you upload a video, it cracks it open, looks at every single frame, and starts like kind of detecting what is on the frames. It does speech recognition, it identifies your speakers, it does translation for you, it extracts all these cool scenes from it. Like sometimes on YouTube you see all the chapters people have in their videos. Video indexer does it automatically for you based on what it sees on the images. So you can do a lot of things with that. And of course, like everything in Azure, it is available in an API. So this is what it actually does underwater. So I will not dive into the wall diagram, but if you're interested, it is quite well documented what it does from the start all the way to the index. So and there is no better way of showing that to you. I'm going to go to Video Indexer, and we have always to log into Video Indexer because it times out every 5 minutes. So let's take a video of the history of AI that Amy and I made, and it is going to automatically play, which I was now in time. So here we can see on the right-hand side what it is all detected. So it is detected Amy, my colleague, and I actually trained a video recognizer to recognize Amy and my videos. You can do that just by uploading one image, say this is Amy, and then in all my videos it will recognize Amy. And you can also add people to your video indexer by the API. So you can just have a folder with people, image, and name, and it can automatically pick that up and detect those persons in your video. And here we see exactly when Amy is speaking. So we can click on that, and then it will automatically go to that place in the video. And there she is. Speaking, it will extract like our key topics, sound effects, labels, named entities, and here all the different scenes for you. But one of the coolest features I think there is, okay, this of course is also quite cool, that it can actually track where the people are in the video, is that you can go to a timeline. So it's kind of made a transcription of all the data, of all the text, the speech actually in the video. But not only that, it also knows who is saying it in the text. And that's cool. It can add like more labels, named entities, it can add audio effects. So you have this whole transcript of your video. So that is handy because you have it with timestamps. So you can now export it all to captions, like the common formats, which you can upload to YouTube again. So you have it all captioned. You can adjust it if there are typos here.
Idea of intelligent scenes.
But you can also translate them on the fly. So if I would have wanted to have this all in Dutch, I can say have it in Dutch, and then click here captions, and then we will mute it, and we will see here that it is now automatically captioning this in Dutch for us, and it can do that with, I think, around 50 languages for you. And you can download these captions again and upload them to any other video platform. And here it will also show where it is in the video. So this, in short, is Azure Video Indexer. So all these insights are available using an SDK. So what did I build? I built something that you put your videos on the Blob Storage, then an Azure Logic app will kick off and authenticates with Video Indexer, sets the configuration, and then uploads the video to Video Indexer, and specifies a postback URL, which is my other Logic app. So when it is done, after the indexing of half an hour or 2 hours, it will just do a postback to this Logic app. It will authenticate again, downloads all the insights, downloads the captions, it downloads the captions, the insights, the people that are in it, and gives that back to me in a JSON file. I'll transform the JSON file a little bit to my liking because I liked it a little bit different than video indexer would give me, and I combined a few index files and I saved it again on a blob storage. So this is kind of the file we want. So what I've done is the two important things. Is I've extracted all the text and put it in the field combined text, which we were searching in. So that is the field we're searching on. So all the text that people said is in one field. Then I exported the captions, converted them to a JSON array, and put them also in. So now I can do a quick search in those combined sentences, and then do later on a search in the captions and actually find the timestamp for when someone is saying something. So if I look for Azure, I will find all the segments in the video that are about Azure. So let's take a look at that. So I can upload videos here, here in new videos. And then we will get the video back here. So I'm not going to do that because we only have 10 minutes left and I want to show you the final website where we can actually search the video index. And we get these JSON files back. So quick look at the JSON files. I will download them. And here we see the combined phrases. And we do a right click and we say format document. And here we see the text with the starting and start text and the end text. So let's build our video indexer. Let's build our video skill that is going to look at these JSON documents and actually put them in Azure Cognitive Search. So we will go back to my flow here. And we're going to go and add this new video skill. So the first thing we need to do is go again to the portal and create a new data source. So we say create new data source, and we're basically going to connect to another blob storage. So it is a blob storage. We call it video store, video data store. We're going to choose another connection to my search data because there it is located in the video folder. Say select, and we should be good to go. So now we have our video data source here. Now we can create a new skill set. We're going to create a video skill set. We have to update that here. And we're going to connect to this first. To this same cognitive service account. And then I refreshed. I was thinking about that video skill set. And now we're just going to add some skills. We don't need much skills because Video Indexer has done already a lot of those skills. This one can go away. We can go here. We can go to video config, to the skill set, and just copy the skill set. So what this skill set is going to do is exactly the same as the other skill set. Is going to extract the entities from it. So I put that under skills. And we are going to save it. So now we have this skill set here. We can create a new indexer that is going to use the skill set to put this into our index to make it searchable. So we call it we will call it the video indexer. We're going to put everything in our current index. We're going to use the video data source, and we're going to use our video skill data skill set, video skill set. And then we're going to specify our indexer JSON, our configuration file. It can use some examples from here. And you saw in the wizard it generated everything for us. But if you just create a new indexer, it doesn't do that. But luckily, I have already done that here. And we will walk through the JSON in a bit. The parameters. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all these fields, like from the skill set, the people, the organizations, in the correct fields. And we specified here that it is looking at the JSON, not at the raw data. So I'm going to save this. And then when you hit save, it automatically runs most of the time. So let's see if that actually happened. So it is running. And now if I copy it and paste right, we should be able to see our index being filled. So we have 27 videos. And let's search in my index here. Perfect. Now we have all the information from all the videos here. Now we see now the people part is filled. It has detected my name as Henk, Henk, and Amy, and slash. It found some good names, but you can tweak these filters, of course. This is just out of the box. It has found locations, like which are actually locations: school, Europe, UK. So we can search for all the videos that are about Europe. We get our 10 results back. We can also search for, let's say, Azure. Should be some videos about Azure. And then we can find here someone. There are so many small devices we have created in Azure. Okay, click on it.
Here there's small devices. So we have created an Azure IoT Edge device.
So now your videos are kind of searchable by a few logic apps, video indexer, and some JSON searches on. And now you can find everything back you ever set in a video. But what we saw here is, I have 7 minutes, should be doable to add the last piece. Here we saw that we have a nice description, and we still don't have that for our videos. So the last thing I want to make is an Azure custom skill, which will summarize the text, because there is also an API in the text analytics API set that you can give a document and it will summarize it for you. You give it the whole episode and it comes back with like 4 sentences that kind of give like the gist of the summary of the whole document. And it kind of works pretty cool, because I looked at many of those videos and I was like, yeah, that kind of is what it is about. So quickly back to the slides. We have done this, so let's create a custom skill here. Yes. So custom skills can basically be anything that can be called through an API. So it can be an Azure function, can be in a container, can be Azure Machine Learning if the output is corrected, is made right. So the custom skill interface is actually, I found it surprisingly simple. So you have an array with values, you have record IDs, and then you send data. And the only thing you have to do in your API is return an array of values with the same record ID, and then with the new information you want to have added to your document. So here I'm sending the text hello. It goes to my summary API function, and then it will put that in the field summary, and my indexer will pick that up and will put it back in the index for me. That's what it does. So what are we going to build? We're going to build an Azure function I've already built it with a HTTP trigger. It runs Python because I like Python at the moment. And we were just calling out the text analytics API, and it will send the summary back. We format it so that it is in the right output. So let's add that skill and rerun the indexer. So here is my custom skill. So what I have to do is add a new skill to my skill set. So that is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to go to my search service. I'm going to skillsets. I'm going to update my video skill set and go to the skills array here and just add one. Yeah, enough commas. So what it does is it sends the data to this endpoint, and then it gives this as the source, the combined phrases where we put all the information in from the video, and then it puts it in the output field summary for us. So I'm saving that, go to NDC Search, go to my indexers, go to the video indexer. We reset it, and we'll run it again. My API is not the fastest because I didn't write the best code. So it takes a little while for the indexer to run, because now it is actually sending quite a lot of data over the line. It is all the text extracted from like hours of video, sends it to an API, it comes back, sends it to an API, and my function is also sending it to another API, and then it comes back. So it's probably not the best way of doing it, but it is mostly to show the power of it. So it is running now, and now we can click the refresh button for like 30 seconds. It should be starting with some documents. Last time it was like 1.5 minutes. So it should have done a few. So we're just going to click here in the search engine and see what it has done. It's already done one. Nope. Refresh it because we're never impatient. One and a half minute, it is done 15 out of 15, which should be 27 out of 27. But that means that there are a few that it is already done. And here we have one. So this is what the extra skill did. It kind of said that this is show is about the welcome, tell us what you're doing in the AI space. Here it is about, this one is actually better. It's about the history, and then it starts with 1950. And so it's summarized kind of the document in the video for us. So to close off, it kind of worked in like an hour to create this whole thing with a little bit copy and paste, but it didn't epically fail. So I'm very happy. So what did we build? We started with stuff on Blob Storages. We used Azure Video Indexer to enrich our data to create JSON. Then we created an OCR indexer and a video indexer. We defined skill sets. We built a custom skill set, and then my fantastic front end could query our index. So if you want to do this yourself, you can follow this link, ak.ms/henk/cognitive search. You will come to our Learn modules where you can kind of go through all the details at your own pace. And then I want to thank you all for joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your NDC conference.